Okay, so we've got the back fairly decent, good enough for a handyman. You can see there's still some minor pitting that we'll have to work through as we sharpen through, but I'll deal with that as I sharpen through it, or whoever winds up with this plane can deal with it as they sharpen through it. Um, and if you work the back every time you sharpen it, it may just go away by the time you get there. So I've moved over to my Arkansas stone. This is what I typically use, although what you use for a stone isn't necessarily all that important, as long as it's as fine as you need it to be. What I use for this stone is a mix of diesel fuel and mineral oil, and I just rub that on there. Then I'm going to put the blade on here and I'm going to rock it like so until I feel that click. And notice my fingers are on the front of that blade. So we want to hit both the front and the back at the same time. And it doesn't matter what direction this blade is sharpened in. I typically tend to do a more like this than straight. The straight is okay if you have a blade that's narrower than your stone, but this is a 2-inch stone and a 2-inch blade. And I use this to sharpen all of my blades, even, a number 8. So I'm going to switch this because if you see that, if you can see that little squish of water or oil rather come out of there, that's when you know you've hit. And the other thing about doing this from side to side like this is, if your stone isn't perfectly flat, you're still going to hit that. And then you want to rock to the right, rock to the left. And there's your, you can see that. Now, you're probably going to feel a burr, or you should feel a little burr there. I'll draw that off. I usually draw that off once on the stone. Back and hit the stone again. Then I'll switch to a strop. This one isn't a leather strop, but I typically use the leather. You're going to draw, so you draw that burr. And you want to be careful when you do this. You don't want to be too far this way, because you'll round that edge. You want to polish, but not round. Although with a little bit of give in that leather, you are rounding. This has been charged with some green compound. This happens to be a used belt. But again, what you use for a strop, you'll get used to whatever you decide your process is. It can be leather. It can be a piece of cardboard. It can be a piece of denim glued down to something solid, or at least like wood works well. Or a piece of leather is traditional. You want it semi-stiff for a plain blade. This isn't a razor, although it's the same theory, but I'm going to go give this a try, but we'll move on. We've got to still finish the wood on this plane, and then it will be ready to go. So I figured you want to see how that sharpening job did. I grabbed a piece of this maple that I had laying around, and I kind of threw this plane back together quick. I'll have to take it apart again, I know, but we'll see what how that sharpening did. Because this is handyman, there's quite a bit of play in this adjuster, but it's kind of to be expected. Probably could use a little wax on the sole, but this is maple again. It's not, you know, a piece of soft pine or anything. So I think we've got it where we want it. So I realized on that last video I kind of had my hand in front of the shavings coming out of this plane, and I did want to show that. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the sharpening was, as you're moving between the different grits, and this includes when you're grinding on the grinder, you have to make sure you go as far as getting that burr on the back. Getting that burr tells you that you've taken that particular process far enough that it is hitting that edge. So, and I still didn't wax this, but you know, just keep going here. Now naturally, if I was going to plane this, I would skew this plane a little bit to the side, but we're just kind of trying to get some shavings here. I believe it's working pretty well. It would definitely leave a decent finish. And this piece of maple is still a little bit on a flat, but I think we got it sharp. I think we got it tuned. I think we got it working.